around. So, here. Slides don't always work as well when you have a room that's 98% windows, right? So you'll have to act like I'm doing animal showers on the wall on some of these. See that little guy right there in the lower right quadrant there? You're supposed to be able to see a guy sitting in the Grand Canyon there. And so, if you think about it, when you think about how you solve problems, how you deal with challenges, how you take advantage of opportunities, it's always good to have a different perspective sometimes, right? That's what we're going to do. I'm going to try to help you have a little different perspective. Most of us here came of age in what I call the age of the summer. The age of the summer is 10,000 years old. And we were educated, we were trained, we were mentored, and we were successful operating with the age of the summer practices for 10,000 years. And it never changed. Only with slight variations, the essentials of the age of the summer never changed. And here's how it began. This little guy on the right says God. The little guy on the left is God. And those guys used to beat each other up and take things away from each other. Right? That's how they got what they wanted, was to take it from somebody else. Well, the little guy kept getting back to the deal. He finally opened his hand up to God one day and said, whoa, let's quit fighting. Let's do business. Why did he open his hand? So God would know he didn't have a weapon in his hand, right? He said, whoa, let's do business. And at that moment, Proto Market was born. The first market was born with a customer and a seller. Honor God. You can thank them for all that. That was 10,000 years ago. And since then, every day, every minute, all over the world, there's been this millennial dance, exquisite, simple dance between sellers and customers. And it worked perfectly with these three major elements. The buyer, the customer, I should say, had control of the buying decision, right? They get to decide who they buy from. The product, controlled by the seller, and the information around all that, controlled by the seller. 10,000 years, that's the way it was. I was my customer's internet. How many of you go out into the marketplace every day and knock on doors and say, hi, I'm Jim, how do you like me so far? How many who does that here? Yeah, okay. Well, sir, you got almost a gray hair right now. You remember when you were your customer's internet, don't you? This is Jim, good name. So when Jim and I used to go out and talk to people, they would say, they were ready for us, right? Please come in. You know stuff we don't know, right? By the way, you guys, you recognize what I'm talking about? You know, you're too young. But some of you folks, and by the way, for the rest of the day, this is yes and this is no. Okay? So how many of you recognize what I'm talking about? You were the customer's internet. And so that's when we have this kind of a relationship with our customers. And here's what it looks like graphically. Now, that's supposed to be red if there's a buying decision, and the other is supposed to be gray. But you can see the difference, the contrast, right? So, do you see the relationship 2 to 1 in favor of the seller? Right? Buying decision, customer. Product, information, seller. That's the control factor I'm talking about. Word of mouth, who knows what word of mouth is? What's word of mouth? Somebody tell me what word of mouth is. Referral, that's part of it.
It's your best friend.
It's your best friend? Okay, I need a definition. A word of mouth is if I like you, I'll tell somebody. If I don't like you, I'll tell 10 somebody. That's word of mouth. That's the power of word of mouth, right? Well, that was a nice trip down memory lane, wasn't it? So, see, that's that little sliver. Keep your eye on that little sliver. I'll talk about that again in a minute. Did something happen that had never happened before? My friends, you're living at a time right now when something is happening on planet Earth that has never happened before. It won't happen again in our lifetime. It's like baby's comet coming by or some comet we've never seen before. That's what it's like. It's accomplished what the printing press can do, what the telephone can do, radio, television, none of that was able to accomplish what has happened in the last 20 years. All these things converging over the last 20 years has caused this paradigm shift from the dominant paradigm of I'm the seller and I've got control to another paradigm we're going to talk about in a minute. The age of the customer. The dance, remember the millennial dance I was talking about? It's the same. It's still exquisite. It's still simple, except for one thing. The customer still owns the buying decision. Product still owned by the seller. Who owns the information now? Who? I need you louder. I need your radio voice. Give me your best radio voice. Who owns the information now? The customer. Good job. That's exactly right. Or at least they co-own it, right? They co-own it with us. They certainly have access. Has the barrier to entry to information been lowered or what? Right? So that's what's going on. Now I know all of you are nodding your head and you're saying, well, yeah, well, duh. But as we go through this, I think we'll start seeing that I'm afraid you may not be making the adjustments that you should be. I hope you are. But so far I haven't seen that. All right. So now what happens? Jim, when we walk up and knock on the door doesn't get open probably, right? You don't just wonder who does cold calling anymore? I mean drop dead cold calling, just walk up and knock on the door and they never have heard from you before. Who still does that? I'm so glad to see nobody is honest. All right. This is what it looks like now, folks. This is the age of the customer. Everybody see that? Look at that contrast. Now that slide right there should make you sweat. That should make you nervous. But look at that. Look what the little sliver became. What's the little sliver? Who knows what the little sliver? What's it say? The little sliver. What is that? See the letters up there? UGC. All right, good. What's your name? 7. Okay. Good job. All right, so 7. That's your name. I like it. So I've got a devil's joke there, but I'm not going to say it. All right, so UGC. Who knows what UGC is? Somebody tell me what UGC is. See, you didn't think I could stump you today, did you? You thought you already knew all this, didn't you? UGC is user-generated content. Write that down, it's going to be on the test. UGC, user-generated content. Ladies, how many of you buy things online? Of course you do. I do too. I buy things online. So how often do you rent a car? Do you buy a product? Do you book a room in a resort or a hotel? Sorry, anyway, so usually they just walk out quiet. Anyway, so how often do you do that? And if there's a place to see what someone has said about this experience before, do you read it? Do you listen to it? Did you know that research shows that your customers believe by 60 to 40, and it's probably way more than that because this is year-old research. Research shows that by 60 to 40, your customers believe what someone they've never met says about you online, or that they believe your marketing message. Right? How about that? That's what UGC, that's the power of UGC. That's what I call word of mouth on steroids. All right? Now you see why I made the word of mouth sliver bigger, right? And notice it is also red. That means the customer has control. So let's look at this little slide. Is a picture worth 1,000 words, my friends? What do you think about the customer control ratio now? What do you think? Pretty significant, right? Does that tell you maybe we should reevaluate how we go to market? Well, you know what? I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand. I want you to ask yourself: is my strategy working like it has been? Is my marketing program, or my advertising strategy, whatever, are my salespeople getting the number of sales that they outside sales. If you can't say all those things and touch customers, if you can't say, sure, we got lots of stuff. And I'm going to tell you something else. I'm going to say something I wouldn't say anywhere else except Texas. Don't presume that because you're in Texas, business is great in Texas. Don't presume that that's because you're doing a good job. I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to challenge you. Because remember, nobody asks the hard questions when things are great, right? You only ask the hard questions when things are tough, right? Right? When things are good, it's because you're so smart, right? But when things are tough, that's when you start questioning yourself. I want you to question yourself now. If I gave this speech in Cleveland a couple of months ago, you know, they don't think they're as smart as Texans do. Because they're having a tough time up there. Your economy's good. I'm challenging you to now to check your own practices. And of course, my goal today is to help you get transition from the age of the seller practices to the age of the customer practices. Any questions? How are we doing so far? All right, good. The customer is now in control, and here's the thing. Often they don't even realize they're in control. And they like this new power. Let me give you a quick story. And by the way, the book's full of stories. I was being interviewed by a writer from Forbes about my book, and she was writing an article. And she's a young lady. I can tell she was probably, it was on the phone, I can tell she was probably, you know, 29, 30 or so. Very smart. Did a great job with the article. But when I started talking to her about this, and she said, wow, I didn't realize this was happening. She was acting like I told her about some new dimension that was out there, right? And nobody ever heard of it. And I started asking her about UGC. I started asking her, are you doing this? Are you doing that? She said, oh yeah, I'm doing all those things. So you see what I mean? She was doing it, but she wasn't realizing that she had acquired power. She had acquired a level of power she didn't even know. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. They like this power even if they don't realize they're willing. Now, remember I said, we were in the age of the seller for 10,000 years, and now we're in the age of the customer. That's not exactly correct. Here's why. We're now in what I call parallel universes. By the way, you see where the age of the customer began in 1993? Who knows why I chose 1993 as the beginning? Anybody want to answer the question? Beginning of the internet. Let's give dinner a hand for that. That's good. Come on. That's mostly right. No. 93 was the first time you and I were able to go online and post a website and business over there. Remember Mozilla? Remember the Mozilla browser and all that? Well, by the way, funny story. Mike Daniels is the guy who was the president of Network Solutions back in '93, and he was around all the guys who invented the internet in the '60s and '70s and '80s. And so in '89, he told me the story. Someone asked one of the two inventors, Surf, and I forgot the other guy's name. One of those two inventors of the internet was a government project, and in '89 said, you think we should let the public have the internet? And the inventor of the internet said, what would they do with it? That's a true story, how about that? So, 93, we got the internet, and everything changed. The age of the customer was born when the internet became available to you and me. Now, notice what I'm doing here. I'm showing you the decline of the age of the seller and the advent of the age of the customer. And we're right there in the middle somewhere in this room. My spotter's not working very good. All right, so I want to move on and show you. I want to put that, by the way, I want to come back to this. Think of it another way. Think of it, instead of parallel universes, because that's hard for us to get our heads around. Think of it this way. You got one foot on the dock, and the dock's called the age of the seller. You got one foot in the boat, and the boat's called the age of the customer. And what do we know about boats? What do boats do? They leave the dock. So you're here, one foot in the age of the seller, one foot in the boat of the age of the customer. And the boat's leaving the dock. So my question is, are you going to, you got to make a decision, right? In a minute, you're going to have to make a decision. Are you going to go back to the age of the seller, or are you going to make the shift to the age of the customer? I want to put a little energy and dimension to this. How many of you know the term seduction? You know what seduction means? If you were in California, you would know what seduction means. When two plates, do it, man. Come on, show me. Stand up and show me. It's you've almost, what's your name? Pam. And it's great. Look at it. Well, you've almost got it right, Pam. All right, no, stand up and look with me. There you go. Turn around, do it again for them. Then let's get over there. Let's give Pam a hand. Good job, man. Okay, so that's exactly right. Two Earth's crust, two plates on the Earth's crust come together. What happens when they meet? Nothing happens for a while, right? And then there's a big event, and something big happens, right? A lot of energy gets compressed and exploded, and something gets disrupted. And what that something is one plate is subducted under the other plate, right? That's the earthquake, right? Well, that's what we're in the middle of right now. We're in the middle of an earthquake, and you're seeing it in your businesses, whether you realize it or not. If you have any reason to think that you're not quite performing the way your business should, you're seeing that right now. So this is what I describe in my book as the subduction of the age of the seller by the age of the customer. The greatest force that's causing this energy, there's only one thing that's causing all this energy. Customer expectations. Customer expectation. Remember the young lady who I told you I was interviewing, and she said she didn't know what was going on, but she was doing it. She had expectations. She was able to do stuff now that she wasn't able to do before. She was using those tools and resources, and so they became her new expectations. So consequently, let me ask you a question, ladies and gentlemen. You go online and there's a website. You look for somebody's information online, and you don't see any comments. But yet there's a place for comments. You go to another website and they got the same price, but there's two comments and they're both good. Who are you going to do business with? Probably the one with the comments. But we don't know that the other people aren't good, right? So you've got new expectations now about how to evaluate things. I want to show it to you another way. 93, you already got that. Why did I choose that from 2008 to deal with it? Say it again. Somebody say something? Why did I choose that? Social media. Remember? Surely you can remember when we didn't have social media. I tell my employees that they're all, I tell them that my first technology was 12.10 and carpet paper. So, 2008 is what I'm calling the first time that social media had any kind of critical mass. It started to be a factor. And what I did was I used 2008 to increase the velocity of the seduction. I did increase the velocity of the seduction from here to here of the age of the seller. Because of 2008. Now folks, look, we're right here. We're 6 years beyond that, right? So I'm going to walk over here since some of you might not be able to see the this represents all the customer expectations from the seller that you had before 2008. That represents the people out there who were demanding each of the customer expectations from you, practices from you. Not that many, right? Look what happens when we go forward to 2008. This little triangle right here represents how many people will still do business with you offering the age of the seller practices. See the big one up there? And remember, here's 2014. So really, this is your little area right here. Does this make sense? Are you starting to What do you think?
Yeah.
All right. So, these graphs are in the book too, by the way. All right. Two words that are the essence of the age of the seller are competitiveness and service. You got to be competitive. All my life I grew up, you got to be competitive. We have a better price, we have a better product, we have a better delivery. We got to be competitive advantage, right? Well, here's what that sounded like. And by the way, as you may know, if you do PowerPoints, sometimes your slides don't go together when they transfer to an equipment. But the little guy there, he's fighting an old war, isn't he? He says, we're going to win because we got the strongest, and we're the strongest, and we have the best weapons. That's competitive advantage language, right? We're the strongest, we got the best weapons. We'll win, right? Well, that's the age of the seller stuff. The two words that represent the essence of the age of the customer are relevance and expectations. I've already talked about expectations, but here's what relevance sounds like. Here's what relevance advantage sounds like. How is this relevant to me and my expectations? Now notice that when he spoke those, when the little king said that, that was out loud. Competitive advantage. Notice that she doesn't, I'm using a little bubble there, right? A little cloud, rather. She's not saying that at all. Remember my little friend who interviewed me? She wasn't even thinking it. She was just doing it, right? So this lady, this is your customer, by the way, that's Harriet. Harriet is thinking about buying something. And she's not even, that's subliminal. What's in her head is subliminal. You know why? Do you think she's wondering, in the age of the seller, if you can think back that far, when you got ready to buy something, a sofa, a car, a set of tires, the one thing that was always a little tension in your mind, a little anxiety was, am I going to be able to find value? I mean, the whole value proposition, right? Do you do that anymore? When you start to buy something, does it ever occur to you that you're not going to get the best price? Right? You can find 29 different places to buy something, right? You can find what the prices are. Do you think she's thinking about price, product? Do you think she's thinking about competitiveness? She's making the decision. Folks, I'm going to show you. I'm going to use my hands again. Everybody look up here. She's making a decision up here about relevance. The competitive decision is down here. She hasn't even gotten there yet. She's already making a decision about relevance before you even know, before you even know she exists. She's trying to find out, already presuming that value is attainable. She's not even worried about that. She hasn't even gotten to that point yet. She's wondering, are you relevant to her? And that's where she's going to make, not the final decision maybe, but the decision about whether you're one of the last two in what I call Super Bowl buying decisions. This is what she's doing to rule you in or out when you're 1 of 10. She's asking about that relevance factor. I'm going to talk about relevance in a second. All right, how we doing? Questions? Right now, all this is creating what I call an ironic war. It's a war because our little guy here, he's fighting for his life. But wait a minute, we're the strongest. We're the strongest. We have the best products. How come we're not winning? And she's saying, how is this relevant to me? It's ironic. It's a war because he's fighting for his life. You and I are fighting for our lives right now. I'm a small business owner. I'm fighting for my lives. Anybody relate to that? I'm the only one in here. Let me read it. I'm a small business owner. I'm fighting for my life. Anybody relate to that? Thank you. Okay, wake up. So, it's ironic. It's a war because we're fighting for our life. It's ironic because she is not fighting in the war. She doesn't even know there is a war and who is going to win. Is our little guy going to win or is she going to win? Say it loud. Bingo. She's going to win. That's the reason I call it the ironic war. She doesn't even know what's going on. Let me tell you something. How do you fight a foe? how do you engage somebody in the marketplace who won't even engage you? Who's already out of here before you even know they exist? That ought to make some sweat pop out of your forehead.
Gotta get on their level.
Sir?
Gotta get on their level.
And that's right. And that's, you got to raise up to their level. What's your name?
Danny Sullivan.
Danny. I didn't have to hear my name. I just wanted to read your Everybody wants to get into the act. I'm just kidding, Danny. As long as you don't do the jokes, I'll do the jokes here. All right. Relevance. Relevance is a big deal, my friend. What is relevance? Let me give you a quick example of relevance. How many of you like the kiosks at the airport? I love them. If I don't have my, really? You guys rather wait in line and have a person give you your tickets? Let me ask you again. How many of you like, you just don't go anywhere, is that what you said? How many of you like the kiosks at the airport? Well, you guys are wearing me out. Anyway, all right, so, how many of you like kiosks at the supermarket? I know you eat. I've seen you eat. I see the chocolate pie, no. I like the kiosks. You know why? Because they're handy, right? But guess what? I don't always want the kiosks, right? Sometimes I want to wait in line. I deal, right? Guess what? That's what relevance is. You let the customer make a decision to do that or not. That's part of relevance. And when you can help them, anything you can help the customer do for themselves is where service stops and relevance begins. So how many of you shop around, look around, and I can say, Bobby, you shop online on your computer at night, right? Don't you want to have as much power and availability of information as you can? Now, guess what? I didn't say anything about price yet, right? So you want that capability, right? And if they don't have it, are they relevant to you? Is it about competitive? It's about being relevant to them, because that's when you want it, and that's what this is all about. All right, relevance trumps competitiveness, folks. And let me give you a quick story. You and I are in Peoria, Illinois, and we're hungry. And we're looking for a pizza place. And we're driving around, and you say, find a pizza place. And I go on my phone, it's magic wand right here. And I type in pepperoni pizza in Peoria. And out pops the list of pizza places, the ones nearest, right? The ones nearest. That's how it works. If they've done a good job of this. All right, so the first one that comes up first, has the best pizza. I don't know this yet. Has the best pizza and the best price. They make their own crust and their own sauce. That's what I want, right? The second one has their crust and their sauce brought in frozen. But I'm driving down the road, I'm looking for directions. We're hungry, I want a pizza. I click on the first website, and it doesn't fit in my little form factor here. They don't have a mobile site. So guess what? I just back out and go to the second one, right? The second one with the frozen stuff and the higher prices. They got a mobile site and directions. Boom, boom. I go to directions, yeah, that's nearby. Boom. You guys have a buffet? Because the call button's hot. You guys have a buffet? We do. All right, we'll be right there. Boom. Horrible pizza. They weren't competitive, but were they relevant to me? You see what I'm getting at, folks? Now that's just one example. I'm using that example. I want you to take that example and apply it to everything you do, from selling toothbrushes to tanks. I don't care what you do. Take that story and expand it to whatever it is that you do in terms of the difference between being relevant and competitiveness. All right. B2C relevance, business to consumers, retailers. If you want to be relevant, save them time. You got to have the technology, my friends. Thank God it doesn't cost as much as it used to, right? Please you got to do this. Your website has to conform to the small screen. I'll tell you why in a minute. Save the time, you got to have the current technology. Trust. There's a whole chapter of trust in my book. There's a whole chapter on values. Remember what I told you? Remember I made a big deal about Og's hand? What did Og say to God when he opened his hand and held it up in front of God? He said, "Tip, sir."
Let's do business.
But also, what did he mean? What did that open hand mean?
He didn't have a weapon.
That's right. Which is in trust. You just keep coming back and coming. Good for you. What's your name again? Pam. All right. What's your name, sir?
Don.
Don. Good job, Don. All right. So, trust. My friends, we're small business owners. We're playing on the ground out here in Main Street. We have to be trustworthy. But I'm telling you right now, in the age of the customer, trust is a bigger deal than it's ever been. It's a huge, huge relevance factor. Trust is not only the right thing to do, my friends, it's a best practice. Because if I can trust you, I don't have to go looking for somebody else and take the time to vet a new vendor. Right? If I were a preacher, I'd say amen, wouldn't I? Right there. Amen. All right. Who was it? Amen. I didn't do it, he did it. All right, so, trust and values. Remember the value thing I talked about earlier, the value proposition? I had the chapter on values in my book that talks about the power of a suffix, the power of one letter. I put an S on the end of value, an agent of the seller idea, agent of the seller element, value. I put an S on the end of it, it becomes an agent of customer value, an agent of customer element, an agent of customer relevance factor, values. So, what does values mean? Let's say that I'm looking around. Remember Harriet with the little bubble, the little cloud inside of him? One of the things she's trying to decide about who to do business with, she already knows they both have the same price. She knows they sell the same product. So she's in a quandary. How do I decide between her and her company? How do I make a decision between you two? One of their websites, or one of them demonstrates that, or one of them has a video on their website taking 90 seconds to show how to demonstrate a product. One of them has a 90-second video, the other one doesn't. It's just a video. But because the customer can watch one of them, see their face, hear their voice, and they took the time to put this up for me and didn't try to sell me anything, they just demonstrated, right? It's what I call contribute first, contract second. Write that down, it's going to be on the test. Contribute first, contract second. I don't see you writing, write it down. Contribute first, contract second. Trust and values. Another thing would be if you have a local, if you have something that you care about, some charity, whatever you care. You know what? If I were on your website, there's a reason why I tell people, I'm a member of my chamber since '77. I want you to know my values. That's part of what I want you to know about my values. I've invested in my chamber all these years now. That's what I say. I'm proud of being a chamber member, but I want you to know those are my values. You know why? Because I think it ought to make a difference. That's how you should feel about your values. B2B relevance is all the other stuff except one thing, and that's this. Help your customers. This B2B, business to business, you have a better chance of this if you're calling on business customers. How many of you have B2B customers? All right. When you're calling on them, don't say, how can I sell them a product? How can I help my customer? That's what vendors do. Partners say, how can I help my customer help their customer? If I can help you help your customer, then I'm no longer a vendor, I'm a partner, right? Because you're depending on me to bring rocks in, put rocks in the box. Now, and guess what? There's a hat trick out there. I've done it, and it's beautiful. Help your customers, help their customers, help their customers. All the way through. I've done it four levels. It's the coolest thing I've ever done in my life. If you want to have a customer you can't run off, help their customers, help their customers, help their customers. You, a competitor, will just be wasting their time when you do that. What do you think? Does that make sense? Folks, write that down. That's powerful. And that's an agent and customer relevance factor par excellence. The agent and customer relevance is the new coin of the realm, not being competitive. Now, I want to talk about the moment of relevance real quick, because there is a moment of relevance. And I already showed it to you. What was the moment of relevance? What was the moment of relevance that I talked to you about a minute ago? I'll give you a hint. Pizza, pepperoni pizza in Peoria, right? How long did it take me to go from that guy to that guy? A moment. A moment of relevance. And people are deciding, they're looking at you, and you're just not suiting them for whatever reason, and they move on. Now, we can't make everybody happy, so don't worry about that. But you gotta make sure that when you present yourself to customers, online and in person, that you do it in a way that you're thinking about, is this relevant to, not the world, but to my profile customer? Is this relevant to my profile customer? For example, if you're only selling to baby boomers, different relevance factors from the millennials, right? So you have to think about those things. Moment of relevance. There's Harriet again. What's she thinking about? Then that moment of relevance, she's weeding through 10 people. Does this website navigate well? Oh good, they take PayPal. Those are handy things, right? That's part of relevance. It's help her make a decision. There's emails. So we have my order is in. How many of you do that? How many reach out and talk to your customers like that? You circle back with them. I call it follow them home. Get permission. There's an old chapter in the book about this. Get permission to follow them home. Now this is not spam. This is engaging your customer where you say, you know, Ms. Jones, thank you for the order. I really appreciate this. It'll be here next week. If you'll send me if you'll let me have your email address, we'll send you a note when it's in. Whoa. How many small business owners do that? If you order something that FedEx delivers it, somebody will send you a note how you can track that order, right? How do you like it? How do you like being able to track your FedEx or UPS order? I mean, you like that? I love it, right? That's relevance, folks. You can do the same thing. Engage the customer. Customers have access to virtually all the information they need before you even know they're interested customers. Before you know they're ready to buy, they already have the access to that. Engage the customer. Prospects are similarly informed before you even know they exist. Think about that, folks. You're being ruled in or out, as I said earlier, before customers even know, before you even know a prospect exists. That never happened. Jim, that never happened in the age of the seller. Because if they couldn't make a decision without us. They had to ask us questions. We had to answer their questions in person. Or on the phone, or they had to contact us. They don't have to contact us anymore, folks. It's the age of the customer. Mobile computing, I had my phone up. Mobile computing was not any part of your past. It will dominate your future. Last year it was announced that it costs no more to make a smartphone than it does a dumb phone. You know what that means? They won't be making any more dumb phones. Only smartphones. Funniest story I got to tell you. I was at the airport a week or so ago. I saw two guys, clearly in their 70s, and one of them was holding up a smartphone and showing his buddy the coolest app he's ever seen. I wish I could have taken, I'm not quick like the kids with my video, right? I wish I could have gotten a video of that. That would have been the most hilarious, that would have gone viral if I could have seen these little guys. It was so sweet watching it. But they were excited about this. Guess what, folks? What that means is mobile is going to dominate your future. It's not just the kids. But Roman relevance is a silent killer for those who focus too much on being competitive, not enough on being relevant. In the age of the customer, the greatest danger for you and me, whether big business or small business, is not being uncompetitive, but becoming irrelevant. Now, I want to wish through a couple of other things here. This is especially true for business customers. The rules of selling have changed. I'm going to show you a couple of slides. This is, I separate selling to business customers. When I say business customers, I mean people where there's a lead, there's a selling cycle. It takes, in this case, let's say 6 months. And so, see where it says step 1 up there, so you click on the line in the middle? All right, right there, I don't know, hopefully you can see the contrast. This is where step 1 transitions to step 2. And it's just a screen. It's just a screen. How many of you remember the screen, right? If you wanted to sell in the old days, you had to get through the screen, right, Robert? You remember that? So, 10 people are trying to get in the door. Only 3 are going to get in. I'm going to be one of them because I was good at getting through the screen. So 7 guys didn't get through. 7 people didn't get through. I'm sorry. 7 of the 10 got through. 3 didn't. That's what I meant to say. 7 got through. 3 didn't. And so over here, this part over here, step 2. The customer had to take all that time to weed through those 7 because Jim, they had to talk to us, right? So 3 didn't get through the screen. 7 got through. Age of the seller. Now, notice what happens. I'm going to go back and forth so you can see this. Age of the seller. Look at the middle. Age of the customer. The screen has become what I call a relevance firewall. Remember I was casting aspersions on cold calling earlier? Cold calling is a fool's errand. I'm going to say that again. If I insult you, I don't mean to, or you just have to be insulted. Cold calling is a fool's errand in the age of the customer. Because people are not wanting you to call them like they used to. And so now we got a relevance firewall. Now this is the same period, 6 months, it's still 6 months. But it's going to take you longer. See that? That was about a month there, step 1 in the old days. 5 months in the other one. Then it's like step 2, closing, in the age of the customer, it's taking you longer to get in the door to get through that screen, that relevance factor, the relevance firewall, I should say. It's going to take you longer. You got to do more things. You got to nurture the relationship. You got to contribute to them. You got to demonstrate that you can be trusted. You got to demonstrate that you're relevant to them. Because guess what? They already know they're only going to let 2, maybe 3 people in. It's the opposite. It's the inversion of what was happening before. They're only going to let 2 or 3 people in. Guess what? If one person does a good enough job, they may only let 1. When 1 gets through the relevance firewall, who gets the business? Right? No question now, right? That one gets the business. And you can do that. But, so you got to do more things. You got to spend more time. And you got to become a better prospector. Because when you get to the relevance firewall, the selling is much shorter. You're already pre-qualified. Remember this, folks. In the age of the customer, customers are self-qualifying themselves. Write this down. Customers are self-qualifying themselves and pre-qualifying you before you even know they exist. All right, I'm going to move on. These are in the book. These graphics are in the book, whole chapter, chapter 16. You do not want to miss chapter 16. Read the other chapters too. All right, I'm wrapping up here. What's love got to do with it? In the age of the customer, it's still okay to fall in love with what you do. What industry are you in, sir? Banking. I love bankers. Community banking. What bank? Community banking. God bless you. I love community banks. If it weren't for community bank, I wouldn't be standing here. I'm sorry, I don't need to be. Big banks, we need big banks too. If it weren't for community bank, I wouldn't be standing here right now talking to you. That's in the book too, by the way. All right, what's your business? Healthcare. What's yours? Healthcare, sir? Golf course, I love you. I'm glad. I think you know it. What's your business? Catering. Who else? What's your business? Cam's in the banking business. You look like that. No, geez. Sorry, how about you? What's your business? I want you to fall in love with all those things. Fall in love with what you do. Love it. Do you think I love what I do? Is there any doubt in your mind, sir? Is there any doubt in your military mind that I love what I do?
No doubt whatsoever.
Okay. There's a butt coming though, right? It's not okay to fall in love with how you do it. It's okay to fall in love with what you do. It is not okay to fall in love with how you do it. If you fall in love with what you do, you'll be great. People will love you for it. It is a relevance factor for people to see you. When I was selling full-time, on commission, knocking on doors, if at least once a month some customer or a prospect didn't tell me they admired my enthusiasm, I knew I had to step up my game. I wanted people to know that I was proud to be there. I made that a point in my work. It's okay to fall in love with what you do. It is not okay to fall in love with how you do it. In the age of the customer, you won't survive if you fall in love with what you do, with how you do it. All right. Here's what has not changed. The two most powerful words in the marketplace. Who knows what the two most powerful words in the marketplace are? Pam, give me a high five, Pam. She stepped to the Holiday Express last night, didn't she? We don't talk, Pam. And we don't know each other. We've never met him. She's right. Folks, I better not come into your business. One thing, I'm gonna make you bet. I'm gonna lay $500 down right here. And I want anybody to bet me $500. Think what I'll do. I'm gonna lay $500. I'll bet you 5 to 1. I'm gonna lay $500 down right here, cash, and you bet me $100. That if I walk in your business, I'm betting $500 that I'll walk in your business and buy something. The person who waits on me won't say thank you. Won't thank me for my business. Won't say I appreciate you coming in. We're so glad you chose us. Something like that. I don't care what they say. But guess what? Have a nice day doesn't get it. Have a nice day. My mother tells me have a nice day. That's not going to work. It's got to be some kind of gratitude. How many of you will take that bet? How many of you are sure that you're willing to risk $100? I'm serious about this. I'll take this bet. How many of you are sure? All right? Guess what? It only works if everybody does it. Because I know, you know I'm going to win.
I punch you in the heart. You have a heart attack. I'll think you may
What's your name again?
Bruce.
Bruce, I did the jokes here. I've already said that. Okay, so here's my point. 4 or 5 guys are convinced. Good for them. But you other guys didn't raise your hands. That means that's a lot of $100 bills over here. I can pay you off. I'm going to make money. Folks, please, don't be guilty of that. Please don't presume that your people know how to say thank you. And I'm telling you, this is a real, I just can't say it. And let me tell you one other thing. No problem is a problem. Am I the only one who just goes nuts when somebody waits on me and I say thank you or whatever? I say, they bring me my water at the table or whatever, and then they say no problem. Am I the only one that makes crazy? I can't stand it. It is not acceptable. No problem is a problem. In every business, in the age of the customer, the danger for every business, large and small, is not being uncompetitive, but becoming irrelevant. If you're irrelevant, you're not relevant, right? If you're irrelevant, you're not relevant. So here's my question. Well, I want this quote. I love this quote. I'm mad at Rashad. He got this ahead of me. The future does not fit in the container of the past. Remember my graphic earlier? The way you used to do business, there's no room for it in the future. And here's my last question. Well, actually, next to last question. Which tectonic plate is your business on? You got to make a decision pretty soon. Am I going to go with a dock or am I going to go with a boat? You got to make a decision because you can't stretch very far. Perspective is everything, isn't it? Hopefully I've helped you a little bit with perspective. My last question is, if you're not a chamber member, I want to know why. I love chambers of commerce. Folks, there's a lot of discussion going on right now with people who are thinking, especially young people. And by the way, all you young people, thank you for coming. Really, I'm proud of you. The young folks for coming. I'm really impressed with you for being here because sometimes young people have a little bit difficult seeing the relevance of chambers. I know that happens, but I want to leave you with one thing. Every chamber has to decide how relevant they're going to be. Charlie and I talked about this before, the future of chambers. But here's what I want to tell you. There needs to be a meeting called of all the major stakeholders in town. Our transportation, commerce, industry, retail, hospitality, education, higher education, healthcare, all that. Logistics. There needs to be a meeting, nonprofits, there needs to be a meeting called with all the stakeholders. There's only one entity in your community who can call that meeting and get those people there, and that's your Chamber of Commerce. Nobody else can do that because they don't have the stakeholders that Chambers of Commerce do. Chambers of Commerce are important, and I want to thank you for being part of your chamber. I'm proud of you for that. I'm proud of the Lake Houston Chamber. Thank you for having me here. I've enjoyed it. God bless you. God bless America.